I'm Travis with Bakcou, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to build the Kodiak all-wheel drive e-bike. The tools that you'll need that are not included in this box is a 3/4 wrench or socket and a sharp pair of dikes. The first step that we're going to do is take the dikes and we're going to cut these straps so we can get into our bike box. Once you do, carefully open up this box and you can pull your bike out and then use the same dikes to cut off all of the zip ties and the foam pieces that protect the bike during shipping. Go ahead and pause the video and get to the point where the bike's completely out and ready to build, and then we can continue from there. So when you take the bike out of the box, it's going to look like this with all of the foam pieces, bubble wrap, and zip ties. Make sure you grab some dikes and cut these off. Be careful to not scratch the bike in any way or to puncture the tires when you're using these near the tires. And then get to the point where all of this is off and we'll continue from there. Inside the box, you have your toolkit. This little box, this toolkit contains your front headlight that I'll show you how to put on, your tool set that we'll be using to build the bike, your charger, cables, a couple extra zip ties, and your pedals. We'll put all these on. I'll show you how to put all these on. We're going to put this to the side for now. First thing we're going to do is a little bit of an inventory. Make sure that you have the bike, the front tire, the front fender, that toolkit, and the tool earlier that I told you to have ready, the 3/4 wrench or socket wrench. The first step that we're going to do is put the handlebars on the bike. So I've opened up the toolkit, and inside the toolkit has that little bag of tools. You're going to get a 15mm wrench, a 10x8mm wrench, and then a 6, 5, and 4mm hex key. To remove this front plate to put the handlebars on, we're going to use the 4mm hex key. Grab your hex key and remove these 4 bolts. While you're doing this, make sure you don't lose the bolts. Okay, now that the 4 bolts are removed, we can take off this front-facing plate, and now we can put the handlebars into that plate area. You want to make sure, they're a little twisted sometimes, that your display is on the left side for your left hand of the handlebars. So if you come a little closer, you're going to see these grooves here. You want to put these grooves in the middle of the front-facing plate. Grab your plate, place it on there, and then you're going to want to get your bolts. I like to tighten one of them before we do all 4. The reason I do this is because then the plate will stay there, the handlebars will stay on, and then you can place the other 4 bolts in, get them pretty tight, adjust the handlebars, and then straighten them out, have them perfectly aligned in the center with those grooves, and then you can tighten them the rest of the way down. So you don't want to tighten these all the way, so you can make sure to adjust the handlebars, and then when you're done straightening them out and having them aligned properly, then you can tighten the 4 bolts all the way down. A good rule of thumb to start is have the words Bakcou facing straight out at you. You can always loosen these bolts to readjust if needed. Now that the handlebars are on there good and tight, we're going to move to the front tire. Before we do that, we have to remove this placeholder from the fork and another plastic placeholder piece from the front braking system. So pull in a little closer and I'll show you what I'm talking about. This plastic piece here, lift up your front fork, pop that out, and then this little piece in between your brake calipers, we're going to remove that as well. On both sides, you're going to take off this nut and an outside washer. You'll notice that there's another washer on this crossbar, and it has a notch on it. This notch needs to be matching on both sides, facing down like this, and the fork will go over the crossbar bolt onto that washer, locking the washer in place so it doesn't move anywhere. They both have to be matching, and then you'll be able to get the bike onto the tire and thread the rotor into the brake calipers all at the same time. So now to put the front tire onto the bike, what I like to do is hold the tire in between my legs and then bring the bike to me, like this. Then you can look down, thread the rotor through the brake calipers, and then make sure the fork goes over that crossbar piece on both sides. If that's all the way down, then you can put the outside washer and the nut back on. And this is what you're gonna need that 3/4 wrench or socket wrench for, to tighten these pieces. I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. So I've got my 3/4 here, and I'm just gonna tighten these on both sides. Now while you're doing this, you wanna make sure that on the right-hand side of the bike, this cable doesn't get pinched anywhere. This is the cable to connect the front hub motor to the controller in the bike frame. Now that the front tire's on, before I connect any other cables to the front motor or anything else, I'm gonna put the kickstand down just to make the rest of the job a little bit easier. So this cable here is the front hub motor that connects the motor to the controller inside the bike frame. We're gonna take this piece off, and you'll see this little white arrow here and here. Just make sure those line up. Plug it in, and now your motor is plugged into the controller, so the battery of the bike can now power this motor. You can put this cable on the inside or the outside of the fork. That's really personal preference, it's up to you. So in your toolkit, as I mentioned earlier, this is where your pedals are. So we're gonna take these out now and put them onto the crank arms. On your pedals, you'll notice the letter L and R for left and right. So make sure they go to the right side of the bike. I'm gonna put the right pedal onto the right side just so I don't forget. So I've grabbed the left pedal, we're gonna put it into the crank arm now. We can do a little hand tightening just to get it in there and threaded. And then with our 15mm wrench in your toolkit, we can tighten it the rest of the way. This may take a minute, but make sure these are good and tight. The nice thing about the right side pedal is that you can place it into the crank arm, go backwards to get it threaded. Pedal's threaded in there now. And now you can tighten it the rest of the way with your 15mm wrench. For the next step, we're going to be placing the front fender and the headlight onto the crossbar of the fork. You're gonna need this little bag that's in your toolkit that has all the proper nuts, bolts, and washers to connect the fender, the headlight, to the fork. One thing I found that's easy is if you put the bolt through the headlight and then you go through, it just makes it a lot easier and faster. And then you want to throw the washer on, get the nut on the back of the bolt, hand tighten it as much as you can, and then we're going to grab some of those hex keys and the wrench, and we're going to tighten this the rest of the way down. So I've got my 5mm hex key, my 10mm wrench. I'm going to put the wrench on the back side, kind of hold the light up if you can, and then take your 5mm. It's okay if it falls over. Take your 5mm, start tightening this, and then as you get tight, put the light back into position. Don't tighten it all the way so you can do so, and then you can finish tightening it after the light is up in place. We're gonna go about right there. Put the 10mm wrench back on, take the 5mm hex key, finish tightening, and the light will move with the bolt. Just make sure you put it back before you tighten it all the way. Okay, now that the fender is in place and the light is on, we can plug our light in. There's a little black arrow on these red plugs. Make sure those are aligned, and then you will be able to plug your light in, like so. All right, we've made it this far. The last part is to get your 25 amp hour 48 volt battery onto your bike frame. This is a Dorado style battery. You're gonna put this little notch down here in the bottom. And then just clip it into place. Bike turns on. We're ready to roll. Just like we tested the power of the bike, let's hold the plus sign down and make sure the light turns on. You can see that the light is on. Thank you for watching. That's how you build the Kodiak all-wheel drive Bakcou e-bike. If you have any questions about this bike, in the description below, I've linked our website so you can look up the specs and components of the Kodiak all-wheel drive. And if you have any other questions, please write them in the comments below and we'll be able to answer them to you. Thank you for watching.